Well, welcome to the 700 Club, and thanks so much for joining with us. We go to Israel for our first story, an oxygen line for Hamas and a hotbed of terror. That's how Israel is describing a strategic strip of land that runs the length of Egypt's border with Gaza.
Well, in a major breakthrough, the IDF has taken control of the Philadelphi corridor. They discovered an 8-mile network of tunnels housing rockets and other weapons. CBN's Julie Stahl reports.
The nearly 9-mile Philadelphi corridor was intended to prevent weapons and ammunition smuggling into Gaza. After taking control of territory this week, Israel found evidence it's been a pipeline for Hamas's war on Israel.
Our operations in Rafah have confirmed the intelligence that compelled us to operate in Rafah in the first place. Hamas turned the Philadelphia route into a central Hamas hotbed of terror.
Among the discoveries, rockets for attacks on Israeli civilians.
Dozens of rocket launchers with rockets inside ready to be fired at Israeli homes next to the border with Egypt.
They also found a nearly 8-mile subterranean network of about 20 tunnels with explosives, grenades, and AK-47s inside. Hagari says Hamas is also holding hostages there.
Hamas is holding our hostages in living hell across our border in Gaza, including in Rafah.
Hamas released a new hostage video this week, putting more pressure on Israel to make a deal. The White House says a new proposal is on the table.
And I can tell you that the Israelis are fully supportive of this fresh proposal, and as before have been willing to deal in good faith on this.
Meanwhile, Israel is signaling the fighting is far from over. Benjamin Netanyahu's national security advisor, Tzachi Hanegbi, pointed to the latest discoveries as evidence that Israel's incursion into Rafah is justified despite international opposition. He also told Israel's public radio that fighting in Gaza would continue for at least another 7 months through the end of 2024. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
If you've been wondering how Hamas is able to continue to fire rockets into Israel, here's your explanation. They're being constantly resupplied. And you just shake your head at this. How in the world can the international community turn a blind eye to it and hold Israel accountable for some kind of genocide attack? It makes no sense. What's happening is Hamas is continuing to fire rockets. They were continually resupplied through these tunnels into Egypt. And you just shake your head. What in the world is the international community looking at where the ICC can call for a ceasefire? They can say that we're going to issue arrest warrants against the prime minister. All of these things absolutely make no sense. The only way you can make sense out of this is that there's some kind of grander conspiracy happening trying to wipe Israel off the map, make Israel into a pariah nation where you can't stand with Israel anymore. We need to stand against this and call it for what it is. This is absolute propaganda. There is a concerted effort among news media, among the international community, among the UN to try to pull the wool over our eyes. What's really happening? Hamas launched a horrible terror attack on October 7th. They have vowed to do it again and again. In their charter, they call for the elimination of the state of Israel and the elimination of all Jews in Israel. That's their purpose. They have said they'll repeat October 7 again and again and again until Israel is wiped off the map. We should all understand that, get behind Israel in this effort to wipe this kind of terror group off the map. That needs to be a concerted effort by everyone to say, no, you don't get to do this on our watch. We vowed after World War II, never again. We need to tell the world we really mean that. In other news, Mexico holds historic elections this weekend, and the results could have a major impact on U.S. relations. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. That's right. The United States is paying close attention to Mexico's elections, given the contentious issues between the two countries. It's been an unusually violent campaign with thousands of political seats in play, as well as the likelihood voters could choose their first female president. CBN's Brody Carter reports.
While drug cartel violence is nothing new in Mexico, this 2024 election season is shaping up to be one of the worst on record. A wave of politically motivated attacks has resulted in nearly 200 deaths this year, including at least 30 politicians.
More than 20,000 positions are up for election. So not only the presidency, but 128 senators, 500 congressional deputies, 9 governorships, and a lot of municipal and local elections.
Lila Abed of the Wilson Center's Mexico Institute sees this as a critical and historic moment, with the two major coalitions touting female presidential candidates. Xochitl Galvez, representing 3 combined parties, is up against former Mexico City Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum, the ruling party's pick, and friend of current President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, known as AMLO.
So the truth is that AMLO's security strategy of hugs, not bullets, has not solved Mexico's organized crime.
From fentanyl and human trafficking threatening the U.S. southern border to almost 2 tons of methamphetamine recently seized in Spain, it's clear the cartel's network is expanding. Abed emphasizes the importance of a quick, positive relationship between Mexico's next president and the United States, especially on major issues like immigration, security, and trade, as future cooperation hangs in the balance.
A lot of the priorities of national security for the United States depend on its cooperation with Mexico. So anywhere from, migrants and stopping migrants from reaching the U.S.-Mexico border, they need forcefully the Mexican government's cooperation on all fronts, not only on its border with the United States, but in Mexico's southern border with Guatemala. In terms of security, the United States has a health crisis in terms of fentanyl and opioid addiction.
With so much uncertainty going into this election, she also worries that violence and immigration pressures will likely increase even after results come out, putting unprecedented strain on the 2,000-mile U.S.-Mexico border.
The root causes that push migrants to leave their countries of origin continue to exist, anywhere from political instability to violence to lack of economic opportunities. This is and even climate change, right? This is all gonna push migrants to continue to track north as long as these issues continue to exist.
Brody Carter, CBN News.
Thank you, Brody. Well, in a digital world, national security goes beyond protecting physical borders. Experts say the healthcare industry is totally unprepared for cyber attacks. After the hacking of a major hospital group, lawmakers want answers on why this sector of critical infrastructure is so exposed. CBN's Caitlin Burke has the story.
This problem drew attention in February when a cyber attack shut down systems nationwide at Change Healthcare. Now it's a priority after another major attack just weeks ago on healthcare giant Ascension.
We owe it to American patients and to our frontline healthcare providers, from health systems to clinicians and community pharmacies, to ensure that this does not and cannot happen again.
These digital assaults against the healthcare sector have skyrocketed over the last 5 years. The Health and Human Services Department reporting a 256% increase in large information breaches. Still, cybersecurity consultant Carter Groom of First Health Advisory says the industry is playing catch-up just to meet basic standards.
Broadly, the healthcare sector is just not ready, and it's only because we haven't been trained over the past 15 or 20 years like the financial sector has to protect our systems.
Hackers in the Change Healthcare attack, for example, gained access because a server lacked security measures many companies consider mandatory.
Cybercriminals entered a Change Healthcare portal, exfiltrated data, and on February the 21st deployed ransomware. The portal they accessed was not protected by multi-factor authentication.
United Health CEO Andrew Whitty recently told lawmakers his company, which owns Change Healthcare, still doesn't know why those protections were not in place, an admission that didn't sit well.
This is some basic stuff that was missed. So shame on internal audit, external audit, and your systems folks tasked with redundancy. They're not doing their job.
This hack could have been stopped with Cybersecurity 101.
Change Healthcare provides technology used for insurance claims. The attack prevented those from being filed nationwide. While Whitty says the compromised system is now completely rebuilt, he had to pay the hackers a $22 million ransom to get it back online.
That's going to further motivate more attacks because they see that and say, well, these health systems are willing to pay. They need to get back online. They need to get their data. They need to serve their communities and their patients.
Ascension Health System, meanwhile, has not revealed whether a ransom was paid, and fallout from that attack continues, affecting 140 hospitals and dozens of senior living facilities across 19 states. The initial breach forced facilities to divert ambulances, blocked online access to records, and even affected patients getting medication.
They cannot scan the medications. So you can't scan the patient's armband or the barcode on the medication to match to see if that is even a correct order or dose.
Now, weeks later, many hospital workers still report little progress and continuing treatment delays.
It is, in my view, Exhibit A that the country needs tough cybersecurity standards, and they're needed to protect critical infrastructure and patients across the country.
After the high-profile nature of these attacks garnered the attention of the federal government, Health and Human Services is now planning to invest more than $50 million in a cybersecurity line of defense for hospitals to handle these kinds of threats. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Thank you, Caitlin. Gordon, another worrying example of exposure.
Yes, and it just seemed like it was a matter of time before it came to the surface. Obviously hackers want money. And so their first target were our banks and our credit cards, and now they're moving to our most personal information and hospital records. And hospitals, on one hand, want to make everything easily accessible by a patient, and so they're encouraging everyone to get the mobile app and to sign in. But if there isn't two-factor authentication to that process, then you do open up the entire system to hackers, and you just saw it, where a hospital system had to pay $22 million just to get their data back. So you look at this, and yes, there should absolutely be national standards. How do you protect data? And I would add to it, there should be a national standard on individual privacy. For Europe to be ahead of us, for China to be ahead of us on data privacy for our own citizens, it's frankly inexcusable. And what it should point to is, can we please get some legislation through that standardizes this? What do we absolutely expect from our healthcare system, from our banking system, for all the digital records that are kept on you and I by all kinds of companies all around the world? Let's protect ourselves from this kind of menace.